dance like nobody's watching. Dance like nobody's watching. So the theme for the month of July is spiritual play. This is the month where lots of us taking vacations and we're thinking the weather's beautiful and we're hiking and swimming and picnicking and playing a little bit more. And I wanted to bring the element of spiritual play into what we talk about because a lot of us take our spirituality very seriously, don't we? I mean, this is serious business, this personal growth stuff. You know, we've got to work at it. We even call it the work. You know, we're going to do the work. But God is joy. Doesn't every spiritual tradition say that the promise of doing the work is that on the other side we get to joy? Let's just have joy now, okay? I mean, really. So what blocks us from our joy? What blocks us from our joy? I love the quote that Doreen wrote because those lines, I mean, sing like nobody's listening, love like you've never been hurt, dance like nobody's watching, and live like it's heaven on earth. I think that's what we're all after. That's what we all want. That's what our heart cries for. But so often, we allow ourselves to allow the opinions of others, to allow old patterns and thoughts, old ideas, to stop us when that moment comes that we can choose to dance. And so how do we dance? How do we live in that place of joy? I just love the phrase, dance like nobody's watching, because there's a freedom that feels like God when I think about that. So how do we get there? How do we get there? The first thing we have to do is we have to hear the music. We have to hear the music. So what do I mean by hearing the music? There is a music of God that is singing everything you want right now, all the time, no exceptions. All of your money, all of your relationships, all of your career choices, all of your good health, all of your everything that you want is being broadcast to you loud and clear by God right now. It never stops 24/7. It's like cable news. But we don't hear the music. Why don't we hear the music? This is an analogy that if you've been in any New Thought church any time in the last 50 years you've heard, it's because you're not tuned into the right station. So what you want is being broadcast on 107.5 FM and you're tuned into 99.1 FM and you can't hear it. Great, I've heard that analogy a million times, never knew what it meant. Here's what that means. It means that God is not a thought, regardless of what New Thought teaches. The thought directs God. God is a feeling. God is a feeling. And so everything you want it because you want to feel better for the having of it. Right? You want that, thank you. You want that perfect relationship. You want that fame and fortune. You want all of this stuff because you think that when you get that, you will feel better. You'll feel more security. You'll feel more happiness. You'll feel more joy. You'll feel more freedom. All of those things are qualities of God, and we should feel them, and we should desire them. But we don't get there by wanting them. We get there by being them. So to hear the music, you have to find the feeling, however hard it is, of God. So when you find the feeling place of joy, when you find the feeling place of freedom, when you find a feeling place of love, then you are hearing the music. Then all of a sudden you can get still and all the answers to all the questions come to you. If you listen. But if we sit in our meditation chair and rail against God because we're not getting what we want and try harder, I'm going to try harder, I'm going to get quieter, I'm going to get stiller, I'm going to pray more, by God, because it's not coming. We're not listening to the music. We're not hearing it. Because we are out of vibrational harmony with it. We're out of sync. It's not going to come to us. It cannot. This is a vibrational universe. Every vibration of good comes when we feel good. So if you want something and you're all twirled up about the not having of it, it's never coming to you. If you can just get to a place where you can let it go, then you can hear the music. One of the best examples of this, I think, is Oprah Winfrey. I love Oprah Oprah's story. It's good as a minister. It's good for so many different things, and this is one of them. Because when you look at Oprah, I mean, legendarily, she had a terrible early life: abuse and neglect and incest and all sorts of horrible stuff. But through that, what she learned in all of that insecurity and all of that being moved back and forth between her grandmother and her mother and her father and all of these different abusive relatives, what she learned in her pain and insecurity was that there was something that took care of her during that she didn't understand fully. But she allowed it to come into her life, and she started to listen to it. She tuned into the music of her soul. And what she learned that she could do better than anybody was talk. I love that. I love someone who makes her living talking. Any of you who know me know how much I love that. But anyway, it seems over that long time. Amen. Her grandma tells a story about when she was 6. They were very poor in Mississippi, and she used to line up her corncob dolls and interview her corncob dolls. This might have been a clue as to her life's purpose. Yeah. She was already hearing the music of her soul calling her to do what she came here to do. And through it all, she listened. And so, step by step, by the time she was 17 years old, she was voted the most popular girl in East Nashville High School in Nashville, Tennessee. And she was awarded a full-ride scholarship to Tennessee State University in Communications. She goes and does that. She gets on a morning show in Chicago, and kind of the rest is legendary. She overtakes Phil Donahue as the #1 talk show, and on to becoming the queen of all media. She did this because every step of the way, she asked for guidance about what her next step was. She didn't sit down and think it out and strategize it and plan it out on a spreadsheet and look at pros and cons. She asked for guidance. And for me, the most impactful, I remember when it happened in the 80s, or in the early 90s actually, because I was in media at the time. I worked in that agency. And I remember the whole idea, talk shows had become, the media circus. Remember Jerry Springer and people throwing chairs at each other? And that was the way talk shows had gone. That was the road they were going. And all of the media pundits were saying that this was the future, that this was going to turn into like modern-day gladiators on television, and that that's what talk shows were doing. And Oprah tuned in, heard her music, and decided she wasn't going to go that route. She made the bold media statement that she was no longer going to broadcast anything negative, anything that hurt people's feelings on on television, that she was only going to treat her guests with kindness and respect, and immediately everybody predicted Oprah's downfall. And for a little while, her ratings slumped. They all went to Ricky Lake or whoever else. Now, in that moment, put yourself in Oprah's shoes. Would you have been able to continue to listen to the song of your soul that's being broadcast to you, calling you to everything you want, or would you have panicked and gone, oh my God, I made the wrong choice, quick, somebody get me some ex-spouses here to get on the show. But she didn't. She stuck it out. She stayed true to it. She only broadcast positivity. She stayed with that sense of what she knew. So she heard her music. And of course, I don't need to tell you the rest of the story. She's like, richest woman in America, first black billionaire, queen of all media, blah, 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 blah. Overwhelming success. And you know what else? I think she's happy. I actually think she's happy. I don't get the sense that Oprah's doing this and hating it and going home every night and having 4 glasses of wine to drown her sorrows. I get the sense that she's enjoying this. She could hear the music. The second thing we have to do, we have to find our rhythm. Your rhythm is not the same as my rhythm. My rhythm is not the same as Steve's rhythm. Steve's rhythm is not the same as Eugene's rhythm. I'm sure those two have a joke they're going to come up with from that someday for me, and I'll let you know what it is. We all have our own rhythm. We all have our own rhythm. There's something we're put here to do. We are a unique conglomeration of characteristics. We are a unique conglomeration of perspectives and thoughts. Interestingly, I had the honor of writing the daily guides for the Science My magazine for this month. And this morning, Steve and I read it, and that's what today's was about. I wrote these in December. I have no clue, but this is what it was about, is that quote from Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is taken. We are our own unique bundle. And yes, all of our pain and all of our prouder of me than had I gone my own way. So why the heck was I doing this? We have to find our rhythm. A great example of this is the dancer, Isadora Duncan. She's kind of, not a lot of people know about Isadora Duncan anymore, but she died in 1927, but she was an amazing modern dancer. Her impact so impacted the dance world that there are still schools that teach the Isadorables, which are dancers in her tradition. The thing I love about this is Isadora Duncan was born in 1877 in San Francisco, and her father left the family when she was a baby. So tough beginnings, just like Oprah. Her mom, she dropped out of school when she was about 12 because it constricted her individuality. I love that. It constricted her individuality. She wanted to be more. She began teaching dance lessons in her home to make extra money for the family. But she'd never been trained in dance. So according to one dance critic later on, said that she taught any pretty little thing that came into her head, which was probably true, but people paid her for dance. And then she went to New York and joined a prestigious dance company when she was 22 years old. She flew from San Francisco to New York. She became part of this dance company and quit again because she felt that their methods were pedestrian and old-fashioned. And then she moves to Europe and she starts her schools in Germany and France of modern dance. Now, she never thought dance should be something commercial. She thought it should be something you did for the joy of it. And she never saw her role as being a commercial famous dancer. She saw herself as an educator of people on how to dance their own rhythm. She lived her entire life unconventionally. Like I told you, she lived from 1877 to 1927. That gives you a sense of the time period. She bore 2 children out of wedlock. She refused to marry the father of either one of them, 2 different fathers. They both died in a tragic boating accident when they were very young, and then she spent the rest of her 30s trying to get pregnant again to have another child with any man who would, volunteer, and didn't think the convention of marriage had anything to do with bearing a child. She lived her life totally on her terms. She tragically died. One of her things is that she loved scarves. She wore these big flowy scarves all the time, and that was the death of her, literally. She went out riding in a motor car that had spokes, and the wind blew the scarf into the spoke, and it pulled her out of the car, broke her neck, and killed her when she was 50 years old. But she lived those 50 years to her own rhythm. She danced her own rhythm literally. She literally did not follow any single convention of her time. She's been inducted into the National Dance Hall of Fame. She's featured in the National Dance Museum. And more importantly, she completely changed the foundation of modern dance. She threw all the rules out the window and was seen as one of the mothers of modern dance. Find your rhythm. Maybe it's dance, maybe it's art, maybe it's computer programming, maybe it's business, maybe it's whatever it is for you. You have a gift. You have a rhythm. And you know it, again, by how you feel. Have you ever done something that you can just get lost in? Hours and hours can go by and you love it. That's what you're here to do. Many of us were told when we were young that that's not what we were here to do, that was frivolous, you can't make money at it, stop doing that and go get a job. That's not the way the world works. That's a philosophy of fear and separation that has been given to us over the generations by well-meaning people who feel that they know how the world works. But that's not how the world works. Look at people who are really successful. I already mentioned Oprah. Look at the Jim Carreys and the Richard Bransons and the Joy Manganos and the Oprah Winfreys. They're having fun because they're doing it their way. They're finding their rhythm. They're bringing their unique perspective. So where can you bring your unique perspective? And then the last thing, in order to dance like nobody's watching, get over yourself. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Every time you're self-conscious, that is a function of our ego. Every time that we are worried about what someone else thinks, it's because we are not hearing our own music and we are not finding our own rhythm. We are allowing the opinions of others to create our identity and to dictate how we feel about ourselves. And the only way to stop doing that is to stop If I could have found the classic Bob Newhart, I mean, I found it, but if it weren't 7 minutes long. If you haven't seen it, go Google it. Bob Newhart, stop it, and then do it. Stop.
Stop.
Just stop it. Exactly. You know, it was funny because as I was writing my talk, I'm like, okay, so what does that mean to get over yourself? And what does that even mean? And I put it, I'm going to Google. I Google, get over yourself. That's all I put in the Google search. So first that popped up are all these different memes, the little slides about get over yourself. The third article down is about leadership and emotional intelligence. My thing. And the example it gave, Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, oh my God, this point is my point. And what this article said is when we get over ourselves, we give up caring what people think and we're able to hear our own voice. And we can put our ego aside. And when we do that, it shows a high degree of emotional intelligence. Because we aren't invested in being right. I'm going to say that one again. Because we aren't invested in being right. We aren't invested in manipulating other people. We aren't invested in proving our point. We aren't invested in judging the world around us. We keep our eye on the vision. We know what we want, and we go for it. And we allow everything else to fall away. Terry Cole Whitaker said, "What you think of me is none of my business." And that's a lovely phrase. Can we live it? If someone we really love and respect is disappointed in us, because we really... Now, if you do something kind of crappy, apologize and move on. But if you're listening to your own, if you hear your own music and you're finding your rhythm and you know that you are one in alignment with that divine life and you're moving forward in it, and someone you know is disappointed in you, can you not care? Can you not care? John Randolph Price did this great thing in his workshops where he would have you think of the one person whose opinion was most important in your life, and in your mind you would have a conversation with them. You would picture that they were sitting in the seat across from you, and then you would stand up and you would look them in their imaginary, metaphorical eyes, and you would say, "I don't care." And you would stomp your foot until you really didn't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And the more you do that, the more you really stop caring. And that's how we work on getting over ourselves. That's that emotional intelligence to know that we are a unique individual and we are not defined by other people's opinions of us. We are defined by our own individuality. And that the more, Wayne Dyer says, if you walk into a room and there are 500 people there, you have 500 reputations. You can't manage that. All you can manage is your own character, which is always consistent to you. So manage that and get over yourself. Get over your concern about what everyone else thinks. So, we're going to leave here today dancing. We're going to dance like nobody's watching. We're going to hear the music of our own soul. We're going to hear the music of God through our heart, not through our head, not through our ideas, although they sometimes come that way, but we're going to always check it in. Because your mind will lie to you all day long, but your body never will. So we're going to check it with our heart. And then we're going to find our rhythm. We're going to do what we're meant to do, what we love to do, what it is our joy and passion to do. And then we're not going to let anybody tell us not to. We're going to get over ourselves and go forward in a new space of joy and freedom. Let's pray. How good it is to recognize this space of love, this space of joy, this space of freedom that is the feeling of God. The feeling of God. And so I invite each person here to get still for a moment and to go to that place within, that place where the in-breath meets the out-breath, that place where we recognize that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. That cave of the heart where we know that God is, and that God is as us. And as we recognize the powerful presence of this divine life moving in us and as us and through us, I accept that it expresses uniquely as each person present, as each person on this planet. divine life, this one divine energy. And as we feel into the level of energy where everything we want resides, we come into tune with who and whose we are. We come into that powerful place of knowing that God is with us in every moment, that everything we want is assured, that all of our destinies are unfolding according to a divine perfection because we are present and listening and loving ourselves enough to be who we were meant to be. And so I accept this truth for every person in this room, every person in this congregation, every person in the world right now. I know that God is as us, and how much better this world will be when we all recognize that. And so I claim for those of us who are hearing my voice that we start right now. We start right now to act as the pebble in the pond of consciousness by leading the way, to hear our own music, to find our own rhythm, and to get over ourselves and enjoy life. And so knowing that we leave here today with a new idea, a new thought, a new inspiration, I accept for each of us that our divine life is assured, our good is at hand, and that all is well with each of us. And I know we take this emotion of good out into our day and into our week as we have a new understanding that transforms us at depth. And so recognizing that the shift has occurred and all is well, I just give great gratitude. I breathe into that profound thanksgiving. I allow God to uplift and inspire and operate through me and through each of us as we go forward to be the change we want to see in the world. And so recognizing this good, I allow gratitude to fill my very being as I let this go into the eternal law that always operates on my words and can never bring them back void. And so with this thanksgiving, I just let go. I proclaim that all is well.